G'day guys, Sam here from T2P.BTC. So today's the 31st of March 2025 and I'm looking at Bitcoin and the multiple number of charts and seeing if there is any differences between them to be aware of. And I'm pretty much focused on Bybit and the CME chart. Alright, so let's begin with this. Let's look at Bybit on the big picture. We'll look at the moving averages at the beginning and then we'll narrow it down to this area of the trading area and what we're looking for in terms of small time frame trading and what's the key levels. So let's have a look. So here we got Bybit, and what we'll discuss is these moving averages here on the weekly. So you can see the weekly EMA and we've got the weekly SMA. So the SMA does a good job when we look at key points of touching. This one doesn't quite touch, but then when we put the EMA in there, we get a touch. Here we don't get a touch. You can see what it does, but it does act like support at one stage. So right now what we have is, when we look closely, I think the 50 moving average does a good job. The combination of these two as the trend. We can look at the trend from a number of ways, and you can put straight lines, pick a straight lines, for instance like that, and we've got that trend line there. In a logarithmic, regular it doesn't quite help, but logarithmic it makes sense. So we keep that there, but it's not the main one. I think this is the main one here. From there to there, touching the wick, you can see it touches there as well. And I think I've already done that. So let's just do this. We've already done that. From there to there. All I want to do is leave that here as well. Just in case. I'm not coming to action. And from the macro top, resistance, I think this is valid. Give or take. Doesn't have to be perfect. I think this does the job. It's so close. Yeah, a bit of a wick up there, but it does the job. This is the daily, so that makes sense that we've got two double top. And now this becomes a very important trend line because it's got 4 touches on the significant levels. And what we have here is the moving averages on the 50. Here we also have the 50 daily EMA, and it's acting like resistance on the top as well. It's coincidence? Yes, maybe. So what we'll look at it from a close-up perspective. Here it's relatively come into play a few times, but here it's definitely acting as a resistance. But I also know that the V played its role there as well. Take it or leave it here. Let's see how we go there. So that played its role at key levels, and you could keep moving it to pivot points, and then you can see that along with the moving average became a powerful tool. Okay, but in small time frame you can also look at different strategies as well. Having said that, you can see it doesn't really come into play until if it goes up to this area. And I thought this was the case where if this was to continue on, this was an area I was looking to short because it's got liquidity as well. But it didn't happen. Now we've got these other pivot points from there, and you can see how it played on. We're going to small time frame. 50 weekly moving average there, EMA. So what we're looking at, in essence, I'll try to draw it. Our highs again coming lower and lower, lower, and our lows are coming higher. So I'm going to use this trend line, and then maybe it might just be that as well. So this might do that, and then the big move. The fact that we break this moving average, this sloping trend line, is not a good sign. So if it comes down there, we'll get the support. So you can see the squeeze, and it does look like a squeeze coming in, but there's a few scenarios there. So I'm looking at that using the moving averages. So the moving averages are doing a good job. Have they started to turn down? No. But these ones have. That one has moved, so it's coming down. And so that's going to be our major resistance. It's got confluence all the way here. there, and pretty much there as well. So our trend is intact on the big time frame. From a candlestick perspective, it isn't, but it's a corrective wave. But the trend, once we break, I think when we break these 50 moving averages, then we pretty much bearish, because if we look at it from here, that's a major resistance. And so this is, if this was to come down here, it's not a good sign, really touching this. It's very bearish. And what we're looking for is a 5-way count. At the moment, we're looking for a 3-way count. And we're going to look at it from that perspective. So let's look at that. All right. So the VWAPs come to play. They also played resistance, and we also have a macro VWAP as well. Let's have a look at that. And that's pretty much done as well. So let's just try this one here. Yeah, that played its role there. So we can get rid of these. And we can say that is the VWAP. That's played its role there exactly with the moving averages. All right, let's go back to our main chart. And if we look at all the charts, they're relatively the same. And so the CME is the one that we're going to look at next. Let's do this double two. Right. So we're going to get a small time frame. Going to break it down. And here, we'll do the same. Let's just do this. Okay. So the CME gap. So we've got the same trend line. We have a gap here. So let's go to the 4-hour. You can see the gap, the moving averages, and what we're looking for here. Now, we're going to use the left side and the right side, and they're both pretty much mapped out. We accept this is a rising wedge. This rising wedge breakdown, our liquidity is above this, so we've got a lot of stops coming down, stop losses. So the first level of liquidity is around here, which matches the VWAP and the moving averages. So this, I would say, is more of a resistance when we narrow it down and the final stage, but there's a lot of liquidity there with the stop losses coming in. So that liquidity is there. The bottom is right below this. And if we go to the 1 hour, so I wanted this to go to a bit lower. It's not doing it. Is it again front run? I don't know. Maybe on other charts it is. But I wanted to do this. So we've got our, so we're liquidity up on top. Now what we've done is from that top pivot to this pivot, a golden ratio is here. And the liquidity is there. So we're looking for one of these to be tapped. Ideally, if it comes down to this trend line, it'll take out this liquidity. It does this a bit more, slightly more, takes that out, and then we see that, and it really fills it out. But is that going to happen? I'll be interested for that for the long. And then we look at the CME gap being filled from this perspective here on the right. So we've represented the CME gap. We just lined it up from there to here. So if we hit this, we get a bounce. And the question is that going to be resistance? And we can put Fibonacci there as well. So we make an assumption. If it comes down to here and there, give or take, the 0.5 fib is going to be a major resistance. Or it goes further up. But here, I'm looking at filling the gap and then coming back down. This is where it's going to be tested. It might be a bullish move. This reversal structure. So this becomes our spring. So selling climax, secondary test, and the spring area. And this could potentially go up. We're sensing support here, right? We need to see this area play out with the trend line. If it comes down here, it's still valid. So if it's down here, I'll buy it. And if it's down here, I'll buy it. We're going to look for signs to buy. Now, that's one scenario where we would take out the liquidity below or further down, and then we go up and fill the gap, and then we get a rejection, right? And then we'll see what happens after that. I'm expecting high. Now, there's another chart that I'll do right at the end, which is the gold chart against Bitcoin, or Bitcoin against gold. It's very useful. I did a video before it, and unfortunately, it didn't save. My machine crashed. Right. So when we look at the CME gap in reference to this, we have the same scenario, but we're going to, instead of taking the liquidity out on the bottom, we're going to take out the gap on top first. So we've mapped that out. And here we go. So instead of coming down further and taking this liquidity, we don't have it there. So what we want to do is grab this. We want to represent that here, right? So we're looking for this level here. So actually the 618 and further down. So if we can get that, so instead of coming down and then going up to the gap, we bounce from here, take out the gap, and then come down and take this out first. So we're looking for one or the other. Here, if it breaks above here on small time frame, you go long. Right now, it is going sideways right here, and it'll be interesting to see if it continues to wick to the bottom and straight up like here, or bullish up there, only a short-lived, and then coming out all the way down here. We'll use our we'll try using this, see if that has reference. So point of, okay, so we might actually get up to this level. So we have our value area high. So what we want to do is value area high, and that we don't have it on this. Got the wrong template. So let's map that out. A value area high. A value area low, it hasn't been quite hit yet, and it's really right on the liquidity level as well. It's a good sign that will be a good support as well. So if it works down basically here, it's the same. If it works down to the value area low, almost there. So you can see why it's just, is it getting front run? Don't know. Is this getting front run? I'd like to see that dip and touch this. That value there is that. All right, so we'll leave that there as a reference. So take the top out, hit the 0.382, come back down, take out the liquidity, value area low. If it goes below and then regains this trend line or the value area low, it's a signal to go along, even with a back test or a breakout, and then could go up. And then that is a bullish move as well. So these are the two things I'm looking at from a local perspective. Now what I want to do is look at Tether as well. Does it line up with this? And it does, in my opinion. Here we've got the Tether chart, and if you haven't seen it from our other charts, it's very useful. And you can see the way I've mapped it out. If you look at it from a big picture perspective, if it comes about, we have some common trend lines. So that was the bottom for 2000, or for Bitcoin. That is the bottom. And it's the opposite. So what we've done is come here, we'll find resistance on this trend line, and we've got these point of control levels and so on. So when we're going close, I'm expecting, so I put the pivot there, fib there, and we're hitting the 618 along with the trend line that was defined before. So I'm looking, and we've seen the candles looking for a rejection. So I'm looking for a rejection here, and chances are this is going to come down, which means that Bitcoin's going to go up. Nice. So that reflects what I've been showing on the Bitcoin chart. Where is it? Here's another chart. We didn't quite hit the liquidity, and here's the resistance. So if it gets past that, not sure what that is. Not interested anymore. So value area low. If we get above the value area low, that's going to fill the gap. So you can see that if further was to come down, if this candle doesn't do any more further up, this daily doesn't go up. If it goes up and gets another rejection during that period, then it's likely to dip here first, and then the daily candle gets smaller and smaller as it goes up. That's my thinking on that. Here, what we did is, let's just do this for a sec, from another Bitcoin strategy. Our line levels are mapped up. We're looking for that's our A, B, C move, which is our W move. Then we've got this move to the upside. It's our X move. And then we're hoping it come down to this Y level. So my levels of interest are down here at this spring. So this is Wyckoff. So I'm looking for support here. Right now, if this was to go up, it's a bit confusing maybe just looking at it. I was looking for the sweep. It didn't quite sweep low enough. But if it does, it might just go up. So it might just do that. That fills the gap. That's a major resistance trend line as well. So the gap, after the gap, it's about the same. Right here. And it's got the macro trend line that I haven't mapped on the other. So that trend line, and then we get a rejection, maybe a squeeze in this area, and then further down. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. What I want to do is next is look at the Bitcoin gold. Guys, this is a chart I mapped out some time back. This is Bitcoin against gold. And it lines up well with this. So what we have is a supporting trend line, this blue one. And this possibly, so when gold goes up, well, Bitcoin goes up against gold, it's Bitcoin season. And when it comes down here, it means gold is going up and Bitcoin is dropping, or gold's holding and Bitcoin is dropping. Now we know gold is going up and it's looking very strong. And so when we map it against Bitcoin, we see it getting pulled. And the thing is, it's got a lot of confluence. And this is the amazing part about this chart. Resistance, resistance, support, resistance, resistance. So that trend line is valid. This is our Bitcoin move, the 5-wave move against gold. And now, got a big pull back. So what we want to do is look at that on a daily basis. So gold is going strong. This is a daily chart. Is this a 1, 2, and a 3 strong move? Or is this a 3 over here and then further up? I'm thinking the first one's better. So we've got this point of control. Value area high is our resistance. It's perfect. Look at that rejection down. So I'm looking at why those gains rejected. It's really aligned with Bitcoin and gold. Even like the value area high, it's just amazing. So that rejection over there is spot on. This macro VWAP, that was our support when it dropped. That was our support. This trend line looks like it's acting perfectly, so you can see how that goes. This trend line was perfect. And it was holding, and when we broke, it's just coming down, coming down. So I think it's gold's going to go up or Bitcoin's just going to freeze. But the monthly and the weekly levels down here. Is this our 3? 2 to 3. Strong move. Maybe a 4. And then for 5. No. So gold does a great job. And what I'll do is if you're not interested in the rest of it, fine. That's pretty much it. It's wrapped up. But I'll explain this chart for the viewers and explain how things line up with Bitcoin. Okay. And we look at the indicators. So from a big picture perspective, when to go to gold and when not to, or go to Bitcoin. So what we're going to do is get our tools out. Now what we have here is 2 sets of charts. We have a flat level, price breaks out. That's the breakout there. So it's aligned. When we look at our formations with this thing indicator. We get a crossover. It lines up perfectly with that weekly candle coming down, and we see that level being broken. But prior to that, this mapped perfectly into it. Look at that. So it's just luck would have it. That would have been your get out stage. So that would have been probably your all. If you were looking at time, this would have been a real good indicator. Once it breaks that, that was meaning to get out. So it's a rising wedge just like that. And a combination of Fibonacci and all the rest, you would have known that that was the top. Anyway, here we see a pattern taking place. We get bullish divergence. So price is going sideways. This indicator is going up. And then when it breaks this trend line, it explodes. Right, so that would have been a good. So this designates it's a reversal. Here we have this major resistance represented by this there. Find support, and then it breaks above it. So knowing now that once this indicator is above it, it back tests this level, and we've got the bullish divergence keep kicking in. Similarly down here, we have this line here. All right, similarly here, we have our tops, crossovers. That was a crossover there. So we'll get this rising wedge over there. So we know that's a rising wedge, and we're getting a bearish divergence. So that's going up, this is going down. So bearish divergence and the crossover. That would have been significant. So the breaking of that wedge would have been your signal to go short, somewhere around there. Big stage, you know that level, that flat level, that would have been an instant to go down. So we can also say, all right, that's the level there. It's aligned. Similarly, that's our base. Find the support. It was on the monthly level. We get a rejection. So that's a hard one, but there's a different strategy altogether. But we get the crossover. Crossover, good signal, comes down. So we had this structure, and then we get this reversal. So here, there, right on the breakout of this reversal structure, right there where we put the blue line, you get the blue move, big move. So that is your entry to go long. So this is doing well. Now look at this. We find our level. We'll find a level of support. And once we break that, we can see that we're going. So we'll cross over there. That's warning sign 1. That's the warning sign 2 that we're going to go bearish. And that's what it did. Get a reversal. Very bullish divergence. Crossover. So I've got this mapped out. So I'm looking for this crossover here on this level. So if this is if you remember with Bitcoin, we're close to that level of interest with the liquidity and the trend line. So if we get a crossover here, that is a good sign to go long with Bitcoin. And it's my thinking is that maybe people flip from gold to Bitcoin, from Bitcoin to gold, based on this type of scenario. Now, is this a ABC move or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move? So if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move, I'm looking for here for support. And that means that this keeps coming down, and we see this bullish divergence, and we go for a long on that level. And then we'll probably look for more highs, continuation. And this is nice. Otherwise, we'll look for another move, and so on. So we'll get a bounce here. We're in no man's land, and we want to, if it comes up to here, we probably get a rejection. And that's what I'm looking at. Bitcoin against gold is doing a good job, and then we'll see on small time frame if there's anything common with it. And these crossovers with this wave trend signal or indicator, sometimes it has something familiar or something in common with the patterns. That gives us an ability to make some probability moves. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I just thought I'd share that Bitcoin gold chart because it is really well aligned. And we've got our monthly levels. And we've got our weak levels, and we can also use this just as an extra means of verification, including with the tether. These two together will make a good model to go with at this point. And I'm going to leave it at that. Please give me a like and share, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
There you have it. Please give Sam a like, share, and subscribe to his channel to support him for doing more of these posts.